really is to see to it that this agenda that I put before me is realized, and to make sure that even my children, the way I've brought them up, I want them to realize their dreams as well. I would want every female child to have the opportunity to be what they want to be.
Few women have left an indelible ink on Ghana's history like Nana Konadu Agyeman Rawlings, shooting into the political limelight when her husband, former President Jerry John Rawlings, became head of state briefly in 1979, and then from 1981 to 2001, she has been a fierce advocator of women's rights. Nana Konadu has been at the tiller of the fight to give women a voice in Ghana, a resolve that was instilled in her from a very young age.
It was a family of 7. And my father would bring maybe 2 or 3 of his nephews and nieces into the household. My mom would bring 2 cousins also, nephews or nieces into the household. It was quite a big household, I would say. But everybody had their roles that they had to play. Growing up, because my dad was with the UAC company, which today is Unilever.
Oh, okay.
Yes. He used to call it until Africa collapses.
Oh.
UAC. Yeah. they were in everything, purchase of cocoa and, soap making, everything. And so he was one of the highest Africans in the UAC then.
Yeah.
So everywhere we would go, we were living within the European quarters. So we had to be friends to ourselves.
Yeah.
Because in those days, most of them were not bringing their families into the Gold Coast. Until my father was invited to go and join the civil service. Then we moved to Accra. And in Accra, it was fun. But when you have strict parents, fun is fun, but there's also
boundaries.
There are lots of boundaries. And but there are things that were very interesting in the sense that the colonial people who would actually look after the compounds and so on would organize all children, and we would plant trees in the ridge area, in the cantonments area and so on. So a lot of the trees that I see being cut today, I feel very sad because we planted them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
But I find that obviously throughout your life, one of the defining things about you is your voice. You're an extremely influential person and you stand for a lot of things. Was there anything in your childhood that stimulated that? Because I can imagine a big household, your voice would be lost.
I know.
So it's pretty amazing, the contrast.
Well, at home, I always used to tell people, look, I'm a lady and I don't do this and I don't do that. So in the long run, they started calling me lady. And when lady says, and lady is asking, and even my mother called me lady, because I would insist. But I was very vociferous in the neighborhood, organizing the young people. They put up shows for our parents to watch on Fridays, once a month, and so on and so forth. So in as much as I was young, at the same time I was really out there because I was in a school that was doing ballet, gymnastics, sports, so it made me into a very bold person.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, you were saying that your background, you did ballet, you did sports. Was there any particular career you wanted as a child? Did you have any dream or aspiration?
Don't laugh when I say it. I always thought I'd be a ballerina.
I thought I was going to be a ballerina. I put on too much weight.
And my father would be like, what? But I want to be a ballerina. And he would shake his head like, you are not in the real world, But as I grew up, I wanted to be a nurse because I liked the way they dress up and so on. And my dad would say, why would you want to be the nurse and not the doctor? And I said, but the doctors don't wear anything nice. But the nurses work under the doctor. So we get into this. At some point, I wanted to be an air hostess because I liked the way they dress.
There's a trend appearing.
And he would say, why don't you then become the pilot?
Yes.
He always had something else.
Yeah.
But I've been through those ones. And then I got stuck with was that I wanted to have the opportunity to organize people and let them perform. Theater.
Right.
And I thought I would go into the theater, but I didn't. It was my dream.
When you think of the steps that you went through to make you the woman that you are today, was anything defining in that career period of your life, or that youthful period of your life, that really molded the beginnings of what was to be one of the most influential voices in our history?
I think I had very strong women around me.
Okay.
My mother, my grand aunt, my father's auntie, who was always present, and she would permanently tell me, a strong woman should not do this.
Yeah.
You're a strong woman, you shouldn't do that. You don't cry over things like this. And I was named, the two of us were named after the same queen mother.
Oh, right.
Yes, Ohima Konadu Yadom. So I had the influence of certain women, and they helped me to, I think, grow.
Yeah.
They molded me into who I am today. That if there's something, don't just keep quiet. Don't go to the corner and start crying. Speak out, because you're named after a strong woman, so speak out. So I would do things like that, and then slowly, I break out of the shyness.
In 1977, Nana Konadu met her sweetheart, Jerry John Rawlings, an Air Force officer, and together they became a force that would forever change the course of Ghana's history. It's not always been an easy journey. Through several trials and tribulations, the pair were resolute in their stance for a better Ghana. And right or wrong, amidst several controversies, their fight for independence for Ghana was not felt just at home, but all over the world. From being a young, beautiful woman to becoming the first lady of Ghana, talk to me about your journey to that role. Like, how did it happen?
I'm not sure whether I ever thought I'd be a first lady. Even though I knew that we were all upset about the way the country was being run. Students were going on demonstrations and going on strikes and all that. And my husband, of course, was in the military.
Yeah. And
ever so often, the BNI would come and pick him up. Or no, it was the military intelligence. They would come and pick him up because they said they suspected he was up to something. And I'm like, he doesn't go anywhere, But I cannot say that I knew that I was going to be a first lady. I just landed the position. In the first instance, after the 15th May, during the June 4th era, people even thought he didn't have a wife. They didn't know that I existed.
Really?
Yes, because they were so busy doing whatever they were doing.
Yes.
That nobody knew I existed, actually. But I had one child, and then pregnant with the second one.
Was that intentional, though, for you to stay in the background?
No, maybe, but not from my perspective,
okay.
Not from my side.
Okay.
I didn't make any effort. I guess they just ignored women. Because I don't think I saw any of them, any of the members of the AFRC group. I never saw anybody's wife. I think they just kept women out.
Right.
Yeah. And it was at a time when the regime before, they felt that women had manipulated situations, whether it was in the markets or it was with the military leaders, or it's never a man who is manipulating. They'll say it's the women.
It's a woman, yeah.
So we were like, no, they don't want women around anymore, and etc., etc. But I believe that's why they kind of kept women at bay.
Right. And in terms of, I'm going to just focus a bit on you meeting our former president of Ghana, Jerry John Rawlings. How did you meet? Did you know he was the one from the beginning? I'm absolutely romantic, so I must ask that question.
No, Peace. It was not one of those romantic situations where you say, oh my God, this is the guy.
Oh.
No.
Why?
Because we were in school together.
Okay.
Yes, and you know that you are young and...
Was this secondary school or college?
Secondary school.
Okay.
Even from primary school. But we didn't notice each other then.
Okay.
But in secondary school, we were in the same class. So, of course, then we noticed each
Yeah.
other. It was not like love at first sight or anything like that. He says, but it wasn't so for me. And you know how something grows on you?
Yeah.
Yeah. He grew on me.
Wow.
So more like growing on me from like from 5 or so.
Yeah.
So you see, from 1 to 5, there was nothing.
Yeah.
Really. So.
Okay. And when you knew him from the beginning, did you ever feel, because you've grown up with him, did you ever see his potential? Did you ever think this is going to be an extremely great man?
No.
No.
No. But I knew his strength in certain areas, like in the classroom. He's permanently defending people who are being bullied by others.
Yeah.
You know, in that respect,
you could see the beginnings.
You could see the beginnings of those things. But as to thinking, oh, this guy is going to be a great guy, I didn't think it that way. I have to be honest about that.
Nanu Konadu believes women's vital role of promoting peace in the family, the country and the world at large must be acknowledged. And to do this, women must be empowered politically to equip them adequately for the challenges of critically identifying and assessing solutions for the betterment of society. This led to the formation of the Women's Empowerment Movement, 31st December Women's Movement. So I'm going to fast track us back now to you. You're the First Lady of Ghana. What was the vision that you had for the future of Ghana? What did you foresee happening?
As First Lady, unfortunately, I was thrown into the position when Ghana was really on its knees. No money, roads all, messed up, huge potholes that were more like, as they call it, they were digging it for coffins and stuff like that. Water wasn't running through our taps, electricity, things were just a mess.
Yeah.
And so I didn't come into a situation where things were comfortable. However, the chairman of the PNDC was my husband.
Right.
My husband was saying there should be participatory democracy. Everybody must be part of this new system. You are either part of the solution or you must be part of the problem.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be part of the problem. So I started going to the meetings with the PDCs and so on. But every time I went to the meetings, I'd see that they would do things only with the men, and the men were the ones who were allowed to speak. So I'm like, well, maybe because we have so many things that actually affect women, we should have a women's organization. And then be able to work in that stead and get some laws passed to support women and make us part of the decision making, as he's saying. But if we're going to join up with the men, then we'll never be part of the decision making process. So I called 2 ladies. One lady called Mrs. Obinim, and then there was Cynthia Nuama, who is late. She's late now. She's passed. And then there was Yawa. I can't remember her surname. And then there was Miss Sapon Kuma, and there was Ya Sidwa. We met in my house, And then we took a decision that, look, we've got to start something on our own because these guys are not allowing us to be part of decision making. So Cynthia Nuyama said, oh, let's start an organization called the 31st December Women's Movement. We all laughed. And
why did you laugh?
Because we're like, but the revolution just started. Why do we name, so somebody said, why don't we just say June 4th Women's Movement? Different names came up. And they said, okay, let's go to some women and ask them to help us to choose this name. And so we organized some women in Osu, and I organized some women in Burma camp. It was easier because they're already in a group. And they said, well, the 31st is nice, so let's choose the 31st. So that's how we chose the 31st December Women's Movement. And then I sat down to try and draw out the aims and objectives. What are we going to do? Then I said, look, let me use the UN Declaration on Women that says that all women should be developed politically, socially, economically, and culturally. And so I'm going to use these 4 pointers and push this organization. But to be able to do it, I have to go from region to region.
Yeah.
It wasn't easy. Even to get comfortable vehicles to travel with was almost impossible.
I can imagine you faced not only just in terms of logistics, but in terms of resistance from people and the powers that be, shall I say. You must have got a lot of obstacles thrown in your way and that developed. How did that affect your quest for being such a strong woman's empowerment advocate? How did you manage to overcome all those challenges that came your way?
I think I just kept my eyes on the ball. I was forthright and decided that we've got a head of state who believes in women. He was singularly looked after by his mother. So at least he would understand that, if nothing else. But at the same time, I said to myself, lady, you are in a place, a special place, once in a lifetime. You either make the most of it and help improve situations for women and children and get some laws passed to support them, or you can sit down and relax and do nothing. I chose the former and decided that I am going to work and get certain laws passed for women. I'm going to work to move women from the position of nothingness into a position of something. Women must be accepted as the other half of the society, that if we are not there, the men are going nowhere. And then I also said to myself, this is an opportunity to work and let those in the PDCs and WDCs that then turned into CDRs, that's the Committee for the Defense of the Revolution, realize that yes, they are moving in one direction, but we are also moving in another direction to make sure that women's issues are addressed.
Yeah.
And with women, of course, come children. So these were the things that were driving me to push the agenda. As gender-sensitive leader, who saw a lot of the laws I brought to him as important enough, and helped to pass those laws. So a lot of the laws we have today were actually, for women and children, were actually passed during his time.
I mean, that's why we continue to celebrate you, the amount of impact that you had during your time as First Lady and since. But one thing that amazes me, and I always say this about all remarkable women, I think all women are amazing because they manage to juggle being a wife, a mother, and a million other hats.
I know.
And make it look effortless. But I feel that the hats that you wore as a wife, a mother, the First Lady of Ghana at a time where in Ghanaian history it was extremely difficult. How did you do all of that and do it well?
It wasn't easy. And I really wanted my children to grow up the way I was brought up. In a proper way, good upbringing, strict when you have to be strict, so that the children grew up well, and good education as well. So I decided that whenever they were on holidays, when I'm doing my trips, I'll go with them so they get to know the difficulties in the regions, in the districts, the villages, and they would appreciate it better when I'm leaving them and going to work. They would really understand why I'm doing it. So one of the girls, the youngest girl, at some point was referred to as my handbag because she was permanently with me. So when they don't see her, oh, where's your handbag? I'm like, my handbag, this, oh, the little one. But I went around with them and they got to know the work I was doing. I, of course, made sure that I had house help.
Yes.
But it wasn't the state that was paying for the house help. My mother was a good support base. She was there for the children whenever they couldn't go with me and they were in school. My mother is a teacher by profession. She owned her own school. So it was both support from my parents and home support and my own upbringing that helped me to juggle everything in a way that made it possible for me to get on with the work that I was doing. Otherwise, I couldn't have done it.
I want you to talk to me about your fight for women's rights in Ghana. How has that changed and evolved over the years?
You know, Peace, we have a situation where you can take 10 steps in the area of women's empowerment, and maybe another government comes and you take 5 steps back. Then another one comes and you take another 3 steps forward. So it's been back and forth. But I think that we have not reached where we should. And here I would like to pause and state that it's important for us to work systematically with our men. They must understand that we are not talking about uniformity here. We're not talking about we have a pair of trousers, you put your leg in one and I put my leg in the other. No, we're talking about some level of, equality, some level of a leverage that will give us the right to develop and help our country. Because if you keep women down, you're keeping the children down. People think that every man is against women. No, there are men who are so gender sensitive and have encouraged me right through. They've helped me draw up laws that we give to the government to look at it and then pass the laws. They've helped me with ideas on areas that I haven't, maybe have been on my blind side, and they say, no, you're missing this, you have to look at this, and so on and so forth. But you can also find women who are not gender sensitive. And they don't think it's important at all. A lot of progress has been made, both from the cultural and traditional aspect, from just the women's aspect, from legal aspect. Because, a lot of things that we were not allowed to do. Women today don't even know that we were not allowed to own land without a man signing for you. We had to make a law to protect women that you can own land on your own. And it took some time for me to even know that I couldn't even go to the bank and ask for a loan. I got there and they're like, oh, can you just get somebody to sign for you? And I said, no, I'm taking the loan, I can sign it myself. They said, no, the law says that a man has to sign for you. Really? Oh, if your husband can sign it, or your father or somebody. And so I realized, and that was when I was doing the 31st work. And so I realized that we need to make a law to allow women some level of independence. And I spoke to my husband about it, and he was even shocked. He said, really? You mean? I said, yeah. So I've got some lawyers who are drafting a law, and we'll go and show it to Mrs. Annie Jage, who was a major influence on my life as well. And we were able to push these laws so that today women can own land, but they don't know how or who did it. We just know that it's there. We can own land. And a whole lot of other laws that we passed. So yes, we've made some progress, but I cannot say we have reached the end.
Of course.
There's a lot to be done.
I have to ask this question. I always feel that There's a notion that a woman can never have it all. They feel like it's very hard for those two entities to coexist in one person. Do you believe a woman can have it all?
I think a woman can have it all.
I think you're the living representation of that. There's a few women out there that are really showing that.
I think it's possible. You just have to know how to juggle these different parts, you know, because in as much as I was doing the 31st work, I was also having babies in between.
Yeah.
So I had 2 more children after I started the 31st.
Oh, right, yes. That makes sense.
It didn't stop me from going. The roads were so bad that sometimes I thought I was going to have the baby on the way, you know. But it is possible to be able to manage. I think it's an issue of management.
Yeah.
And if we can manage a company, you can also manage the home, manage the children, manage your household, and still manage the company. It's an issue of management.
Maya Angelou once famously opined, "My mission in life is not merely to survive, but to thrive, and to do so with passion, some compassion, some humor, and some style." This eloquently sums up who Nana Konadu Agyeman Rawlings is. A woman on a mission, not only to improve the lives of women in Ghana, but to ensure that they thrive against all odds.
And my dad would say, the sky is your limit. You've got to push yourselves. You've got to get an education. You've got to go to the university. You've got to have a profession. Be independent of whoever you marry.